Today we're talking about setting goals and why they actually matter, not the motivational poster version of it and all the bullshit that comes with that. So not vision boards, not vague intentions, real goals, practical goals. The kind that influence how you spend your time and how you make decisions, and ultimately where your life ends up. Stick around to the end and I'll give you a simple way to apply this immediately with a free giveaway. Hi, my name is Lawrence. I've generated over 100 million across all of my companies, failed a lot and made more mistakes than most. What I share comes from real experience. No bullshit, just the facts. Appreciate you joining today. So number 6, read your goals frequently. This is one of the most powerful and most underrated parts of goal setting. Like repetition, 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 right? So most people set goals and then forget about them. Most. Come on. As soon as I said that, who did you think of? Someone, right? It's probably someone who's close to you, maybe even yourself. Now, people forget them not because they don't care, it's because life gets busy, right? So when that happens, the goal slowly stops influencing behavior. You have to make it a priority. It's still there on paper, but it's no longer active in your thinking, right? So it's not present. So reading your goals frequently keeps them top of mind. It reminds you what actually matters. It shapes decisions without you needing to consciously force anything. Your brain is constantly filtering information. What you see repeatedly, it begins to prioritize. That's why reading your goals works. When your goals are visible, distractions and unicorns lose their power. You're less likely to say yes to things that don't move you forward, and you don't need more discipline. Think about that. It's not about discipline. You just need to know what to say yes to, and you need to know what to say no to. So you may need better reminders. Like, it's a practical element of goal setting, but people don't think about reminders. Like, how frequently are you going to read your goals? You can write them down and they can be perfect, right? You can have all the dates and all the metrics. They can be achievable. They're not fantasy. Everything is on point. But if you never read them, there's no point. So someone who reads their goals every morning starts the day with intention, right? Like, do you think about your day when you wake up? Or do you just walk into it? And then you have no control over it. So throughout the day, small decisions change. What to focus on, what to ignore, and how to spend your time. They're not thinking about the goal every minute. No, they're not doing that. But it's influencing choices in the background that you're not aware of. This happens because there's something called reticular activation, right? So reticular activation refers to the brain's built-in filtering system, formerly called the reticular activating system, or RAS. So in plain terms, it decides what you notice and what you ignore. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So your brain is flooded with millions of bits of information every second. So the RAS sits in the brainstem that acts like a bouncer or security guard, right? It scans everything and only lets through what it believes is relevant to you. So your goals, your beliefs, what you focus on repeatedly, what you consider important or what you consider threatening. That's why when you buy a new car, you suddenly see that car everywhere. The cars were always there. You drove past them all the time. Your filter just changed. So the RAS doesn't judge truth, it reinforces focus. What that means is, if you focus on problems, you see more problems. If you focus on opportunities, you see more opportunities, right? So if you focus on solutions, you see solutions. If you focus on anything else that's really, really negative, you become negative. So focus on fear and risk shows up everywhere. Focus on growth and you begin to see pathways. So another example could be, if one of your goals is to improve your financial position, I know I've used that scenario a few times. It's a good one. Why? Because it's popular. People want to earn more financially to create security for themselves and their families. It's really important. So if you are looking to improve your financial position in life, Reading that goal regularly changes how you think about spending, what you earn for work, and the opportunities that you're about to take on that year. Clear goals train your reticular activating system to scan for solutions, people, ideas, and signals aligned to the goal, your goal, right? So vague goals train it to do nothing useful, right? So just be aware of that. So if I was to recap that, what you repeat, you reinforce. What you reinforce, you act on. If you don't see your goals, they don't influence your life or your actions. And you must do it with frequency. Okay, number 7, where and how to store your goals. What, Lawrence? What? Yeah, I think it's sort of important, right? Like if you were to read them on a regular basis, how would you do that? Practical. I am nothing but a practical person. Because I really think about that sort of stuff. Because if I make it easy for me to read them, I'll read them. If it's difficult, I won't, right? So there's no perfect system for storing your goals, by the way. Anyone who tells you there is trying to sell you something, probably. The best system is the one you actually use consistently already, right? That you've been using for years. Your goals don't just need to be beautifully designed. They don't need fancy software. They don't need complexity. They need to be visible and accessible. If your goals are buried in a folder, a notebook that you never open, or a document you only look at once a year, they won't be influential. Your goals should live somewhere you naturally look already. It might be on your iPhone, right? In notes. It could be in your calendar. It could be written down and kept visible. You know those weird people who write things on Post-it notes and stick them to their screen in the office, and they don't have 1 or 2 of them, they have like 25 of them? You could be one of those people, right? So as a voice note, you can listen to it. I do that. I record it and listen back to it as a recording. Or you could have it pinned to your workspace on your desktop, for example. The format doesn't really matter, but the habit does, and this will reinforce a positive habit. So pick 1 or 2 methods would be my advice, not everything. Too many systems becomes another form of overwhelm, right? So I know I said overwhelm, and Americans think that's not a word, but I'm going to use it again and again and again.
I'm pretty sure you're right about that.
So for example, a simple calendar reminder every Monday morning that forces a 5-minute review of your goals is more powerful than a perfectly written document that you never open. That's what I do. That 5 minutes keeps your goals alive and ticking along, right? It keeps them relevant, it keeps them influencing, and it really influences all the decisions for that day and for that week ahead, right? Another example could be some people record their goals as a short voice note and then listen to it while driving, walking, or working out in the gym. It's no effort, there's no friction, it's just repetition, right? The easier it is to access your goals, the more likely it gets used. I have mine on my iPhone, in my notes, and in my calendar, 2 places. I use these vehicles all the time. So this is an easy doorway for me to open on a daily basis. Sometimes I'll also have ChatGPT read them to me while I'm driving, right? That's nice and easy as well. Those are really only the 3 things that I do. But that reminder that I have set is every 2 days. Certainly on a Monday morning, I have my longer goal set in there. And then on a Wednesday, it's short form. On a Friday, it's short form. And then I do one on a Sunday morning as well. Right? And I read them, and it only takes me 5 minutes. So there's no excuses. So I proactively get notified by my software all the time, right? So all I have to do is pick up my phone and it says, Lawrence, read your goals. And I just click on it and I do it, right? So look, there is no perfect system. There's only 1 that works for you, 2 that work for you, 3 that work for you, no more than that. But keep it consistent would be my advice. Consistency beats sophistication always. Okay, number 8, accountability changes everything. A lot of people fall down here. So many. I have as well in the past in my experience. Now, it's not because people don't have goals. If only you know your goals, they're kind of easier to ignore. Like, you can make excuses to yourself pretty easily. You know, we all get pretty good at that, especially when we're in a mindset where we've had a bit of a tough day. You know, it's like that thing about not going to the gym. Oh, I'll just do it tomorrow. Well, you shouldn't do that. You should just go anyway. So everything becomes, if it's just you, everything becomes easier to rationalize and easier to push into the next week. Now, accountability introduces pressure. And pressure, when used properly, creates follow through. But this only works if accountability is with the right people. Now, not everyone deserves access to your goals. Some people pull you up and some people pull you down. We all know this. You want accountability with people who challenge you, not people who comfort you, comfort your excuses, or talk about you behind your back negatively. You want people who ask better questions, people who expect follow through from you, and stay away from people who dismiss ambition. You know, I had a lot of those people around me when I was younger, in my early 20s and my late teens. And you have to just remove yourself from those scenarios and those situations. So stay away from people who normalize quitting. Stay away from people who make you feel small, right, for wanting to be successful. Accountability isn't just about being policed, I guess. It's about being honest with someone who actually wants you to win, right? We are far more likely to keep promises made to others than promises made quietly to ourselves, right? That's human nature. And sometimes that person may not be the person that you think it is. It may not be the person that's closest to you. It may not be your wife or your husband. It may not be your boyfriend or your girlfriend, right? It could be someone who's a little bit distant from you. Sometimes that's a better option. In actual fact, sometimes I think that's a great option. So think about that. So for example, if you tell yourself you'll train 3 times a week, right? It's easy to miss a session. No harm, no foul. If a coach, however, or a training partner or a disciplined friend expects you to show up, everything changes. You're less likely to push that and you'll turn up. So accountability is pretty important, but you have to stack it or layer it correctly, right? So seek accountability. Don't run away from it. Sometimes you want to, I get it. We all do. But don't. Be disciplined and understand one thing. If you're not accountable and no one's holding you accountable when you need it, you'll never achieve anything. Number 9, build belief through small wins. Right? Build belief through small wins. That'll help you eliminate scarcity, I think. So this is where the real power of goal setting shows up. The goal itself isn't the main benefit. Well, look, it is and it isn't, right? What happens on the way to the goal is really, really critical. Like, think about that. Achieving it is great, don't get me wrong, but the journey can be better. Every time you do what you said you were going to do, something important happens. You build belief in yourself and you get stronger. Like, it just happens. It happened to me year after year after year, right? When you fail, it pulls you down. When you succeed, it pushes you forward. And you just become stronger and more resilient. So belief isn't created by motivation. Like, I fucking hate that word motivation. You know, I just do. I just think it's very temporary. So belief is created by evidence. Belief is created by results, not motivation. So small wins matter, right? More than these big declarations. Why? Because the small wins compound over time. Each completed action sends a signal to your brain. I do what I say what I do. And you want to be that type of person. I certainly do. I want to talk about scarcity consciousness just for a little bit. Like, I think it's rampant at the moment in society. So scarcity isn't just about money. I'm going to make a little bit about money today because it's a good example of what scarcity looks like. So scarcity is a mindset. It's a lens and it's a way of interpreting the world. Scarcity consciously is the belief that there is never enough. There's not enough money, there's not enough time, there's not enough opportunity, and there's not enough luck, and there's not enough room for you. That's bullshit. When someone lives in scarcity, they don't think long term, they think survival. They make short decisions to solve short problems. They protect instead of invest. and they try and validate their decisions, which are normally not great ones. They avoid risk instead of building capability, and they cling to certainty, even when certainty is what's holding them back. This is why people stay poor in most areas of their life. Not just financially, but in health, relationships, confidence, skills, leadership, you name it. Scarcity shrinks behavior. So people with scarcity consciousness avoid spending money with them, avoid spending time with them. Like they're really dangerous people to be around. I truly believe that. So here are some of the behaviors of scarcity consciousness, and you'll see it. And you'll know people who have scarcity consciousness as well. Like we all do, they are around us. I wish they could wear a t-shirt, like, stay away from me. I will pull you down. Well, it's a lot of words on a t-shirt, but so they avoid spending money even when it would create leverage for them. Right? You know these people, we all do. They avoid learning because it feels expensive. Right? They see it as a cost, not as an investment. They avoid the hard conversations because they fear loss, right? They avoid change because they can't afford to get it wrong. They stay in jobs and relationships that they've outgrown all the time. Ironically, the attempt to stay safe is what keeps them stuck in most situations. So scarcity is really noisy. It creates urgency without progress. It creates busy without movement. It creates effort without leverage, right? So what you want is abundance consciousness, right? So it's strategic confidence, and it says, I can learn, I can adapt, I can recover, I can create value, I can play the long game, I can do whatever I fucking want to. Abundance consciousness. Lean into that. People who escape scarcity don't magically get lucky. They rewire how they think about risk, time, and investment. They stop asking, how do I avoid losing? And they start asking, how do I build capacity? The truth most people don't want to hear is this. You don't escape scarcity by saving harder. You escape it by thinking differently, acting deliberately, and building skills that compound over time. Scarcity keeps you small, and capacity makes you free. So that's a sort of signal that builds confidence, and confidence creates momentum. Momentum makes consistency easier, certainly over time, and then consistency becomes a habit, and habit becomes identity. That's how people actually change in reality. For example, maybe someone who constantly does $10 jobs because they think they're saving money. That is not the case. In real terms, these jobs take time and pull time away from what they should really be focused on, which is generating real income. Why wouldn't you pay someone $10 for an hour so you can make 100? See the difference? That identity shift makes bigger goals feel possible. Another example could be, for example, in business, hitting small monthly targets builds confidence to pursue larger opportunities, right? Focusing on small operational tasks take you away from hitting the big numbers. This is why starting smaller and executing consistently beats starting big and failing. Big wins are built on small ones with repetition, right? So to recap, belief becomes a form of action. You need to build that. You need to eliminate scarcity altogether, right? And build an abundance consciousness. And you do that through action. Action builds confidence, remember? Confidence builds momentum, and momentum changes everything. Number 10, review, adjust, and keep moving. Right? Review, adjust, and just keep on moving, like Forrest Gump says. So this is where long-term progress is protected. Goals are not fixed contracts. They're working documents, right? So life changes, markets change, circumstances change, we get that. If your goals don't adapt, they either become irrelevant or demoralizing. So review your goals regularly, keeps them honest, like you certainly want to do that, and it allows you to separate effort from outcome. It helps you adjust strategy without emotion. Missing a goal is not failure. Missing a goal is not failure, but ignoring it is. Don't get disappointed when things go off track. It's cool. Recalibrate, refocus, and move forward. People stop because they think too far ahead. Just one step at a time, please. Work in iterations. So thinking too far ahead can shut you down. When you project too far into the future, your brain stops seeing the next step and then starts seeing an overwhelming system ahead of you, right? So instead of what's my next move, you start thinking, how do I solve everything? And that creates a cognitive overload for the brain. So there's psychology linked to this. Cognitive load theory, right? So too many variables exceed working memory. So you've got to just go easy. Like everything should work in iterations anyway. So anxiety response, the brain interprets uncertainty as a threat, right? And then you get to this whole paralyzing decision-making process where too many outcomes reduce action. So your nervous system doesn't care that the threat is imaginary or long-term. It reacts to it immediately. So that type of negative action stalls everything. This isn't laziness or lack of discipline. It's the brain shifting from problem solving to threat avoidance, right? It's like everyone's heard that story about, the saber-toothed tiger. Our brain is naturally wired to protect you and the people around you. It's naturally wired to say no to things that you think may be risky. So high-performing managers know how to separate this out, right? So you just need to think about that. So vision, long-term direction, sure. Execution, practical steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And vision is looking really, really far ahead, and execution is only looking at one step at a time. Remember that. Work in iteration. Step 1 first. And step 1 will influence step 2, and step 2 will influence step 3, and they'll change as you move forward. So when people try to do both at once, they freeze, right? And the rule is simple. Think long-term, but act short-term. Think long-term, act short-term. So the mistake people make is treating goals like they're all in or it's nothing. You shouldn't do that. It's just super confusing and even super hard just to think about. Either they hit them perfectly, right? Or they quit entirely. Like, trust me, there will be goals that you will set where you will get 50%, 30%, 75%, and not 100. That's okay, right? You just need to move them forward. So, and if you don't do that, that mindset kills momentum. Progress is really linear. There are setbacks, pauses, adjustments, and things will happen along the way, right? For example, a business goal might need revising because market conditions change. That's not quitting, that's just thinking. Another example may be a personal goal may need adjusting due to health concerns, family issues, right? Or workload. Like, that's not weakness, that's just reality. The key is to keep moving forward. Even if the pace changes, that's okay. Again, I'll go back to what I said. Review monthly, reset quarterly, refocus annually, stay in motion, right? So goals should evolve as you do. Adjust the plan, not the commitment. So final recap, goals give direction. Like, they must be simple and limited and achievable. They must be realistic, but also stretch you. They must be broken down so you understand them, and they must be visible. You need to see them. They must be reviewed frequently, and they work best with accountability. Look, goals build belief through action. Like we spoke about this. They create habits over time. They evolve as you do. They deliver results. And achieving results feels good, really good. And I truly believe that's where happiness lives. So thanks for listening, appreciate it. Look, if you like this and found it valuable, would really appreciate a like and a subscribe to the channel, or perhaps share it with someone you think could benefit. So we do this for free and fund it ourselves, so that support generally helps. If you have a question, drop it in the comments and I'll get back to you. Again, thanks, and we'll see you next time.